Sebring International Raceway at 3.5 miles and a former World War II airfield is fast through 1, then heavy on the brakes through 2, 3, 4 and 5, opening up at Big Bend and under the bridge, into the hairpin at 7, up the Fangio Straight and into 10 and 11, which is Collier, then a right turn at Tower, Bishop is 14, Le Mans 15 and 16, and then the Ullman Straight is a long, long run all the way to the final corner, which is Sunset Bend. And that is a lap of Sebring International Raceway.
As you can tell, I like to go fast. Our race team is really well prepared. We like to look good, but we also like to dress good, and that's why we shop at Franklin Road Apparel. I own the company, and I wear the clothes that we sell in that store. So check us out. We carry all the top brands: Baldwin, John Barbados, Billy Reed, Goodman brand, and on down the list. So come see us, Franklin Road Apparel, Franklin, Tennessee.
If your tooling isn't quite ready and you need parts, and you need more parts than just a few, or if your run is just not that big, look to the experts in low volume production, three-dimensional services. Whether it's 10, 100, or 1,000 parts, we can meet your needs. And if it's 10,000, we can do that too. Three-dimensional services delivers high-quality parts for short runs, 70% faster than industry standards. Three-dimensional services. Prototype, production, proven.
Menards is the Midwest's ultimate home improvement store. Family owned since 1958, Menards is the one-stop shop where you always save big money. Get the Midwest's best selection nationwide when you shop online at menards.com. We make it easy to complete your projects around the house, big or small. From hardware to plumbing or paint to appliances, we carry it all. Visit menards.com today to save big money at Menards.
Save big money at Menards.
Hello and a warm welcome to Sebring International Raceway. It's an absolutely glorious day here in Central Florida as we get ready for our feature race of the day, which is TA, XGT, SGT and GT. And this is where Trans Am's tradition began and continues in 2022. It all started here in 1966. It's America's longest running road racing series. And this is, without doubt, another fantastic period for the championship. It's had its ups and downs, as all motor racing series do, including COVID, but we have come out of it, and we have never been stronger in so many ways. And we only have to take a look at the grids as the drivers get ready, and the national anthem is played. And it's traditional here at any motor race in the United States, the national anthem signaling the chance for the racers to get in their cars and get ready for the signal to go racing. It's a huge field once again in our TA, XGT, SGT, GT race grid. Some new names, but some familiar faces. And when you look at some of the names, like Paul Menard, yes, connected to the Menards grocery stores and stores across the Midwest. David Pintarak, who's also been a long-time member of this Trans Am field. He is back once again in TA in his Ford Mustang number 57. Although feeling a little under the weather, he may not make the full 100 miles. It's hot out there. It's going to be tough. Just ahead of him, the new colours, a new team for Tommy Dreese, who, again, is another one of the drivers that has been so much a part of Trans Am in the last 10 years. But then there's names like Boris Said, who've raced from NASCAR to IMSA. Now, those are the best seats in the house. There's the hotel right by turn 7 at the hairpin. And if you get a balcony seat there, you're doing good. We look down on a full paddock of cars because, of course, SVRA and Trans Am in action today. But we start with this feature race. The conditions couldn't be better, really. The old circuit, which was an airfield back in the day, back in a World War II airfield, in fact. And it continues to be one of America's iconic tracks. Talking of iconic, we've got our own Ben Sissel. And he will be down on the track in a few moments' time. We'll get to him. But in terms of the qualifying and the lead-up to this race, well, it was an interesting qualifying held yesterday afternoon in very similar conditions. Here's a look at the qualifying. And winner here last year, and again on the pole, our current champion, Chris Dyson, with a 157.838 in that number 20. Jim Weed, Altwell Ford Mustang, has the pole position as we get ready for our first feature race of the weekend and of the season, I may add. Perfect conditions, as we've mentioned already. A good field. Great to see Lee Saunders here, back in that Viper, the famous 84. And likewise, we've got Billy Griffin back in GT. Good to have him in. But we've got some new faces. Danny Lowry also here. Luca Mars, watch out for him in SGT. I talked to Lee Saunders. He's worried about him. So, without further ado, I mentioned Ben Sissel. Let's get down to the grid and find out what the latest is. Over to you, Ben.
Thank you, Jonathan. So happy to be here at the Sebring SpeedTour for the start of the Trans Am season. And it's so fitting because Trans Am started here in 1966. And talking about Trans Am history, in the Greg Pickett kind of paint scheme livery sponsorship, the Jim Weed, the champion from 2021, Chris Dyson, pole winner, and he beat the record by about a minute and a half. But we've got spoiler here, Martin Raginger, all the way from Austria. He had a great race with us in Atlanta a few years ago. Then here we go. In third, we've got NASCAR legend Paul Menard racing for FranklinRoadApparel.com, where we get our great shirts. Then we've got Ken Twaits here with Franklin Road. And now Simon Gregg with the Peter Gregg Foundation, usually in this car. How does it feel to be a spectator? Do you want to be in the car?
Yeah, I'm missing driving today, but I wish Martin good luck. It looks like he's got a good starting position. The series is doing well. I'm excited to get to drive the cars later on in the season. I'm going to be doing half of the races this year.
Nice. Well, Simon, we miss you, but love having you here. Love all you're doing in the Peter Gregg Foundation to help us out. Thanks for coming out, Simon.
Yeah,
let's come back through. So, because I want to point out some things here. Amy Ruman was talking about the tires. She's super excited about these tires, but this is the first time that I've seen kind of these louvers here. So, Bob Ruman, are you guys seeing a difference on the tires and this front end setup you've got?
Yes, it's much better than what we had before. We were suffering with the lack of front aero, and it's come back to us now.
Nice. I love it. Bob Ruman, Amy Ruman, two-time champion, the privateer family of the McNichols Metal Service Center. Tommy Dreesy here in a new Paul Gentilozzi car, new to him. So much fun to watch. We've got about a minute on the grid. So here we go. David Pinterick. We're going to have to move quick, Tony. David Pinterick, Wally Dallenbach Jr., Chacron from Panama, all the way from Panama, Richard Grant. We've got Lee Saunders here, former SGT two-time champion. Boris Said, who didn't get to qualify. McCallion, Billy Griffin. We've got Milton Grant back here. Todd Naparowski back in his awesome, I love that Camaro. Milton Grant. Luca Mars. Look at this Luca Mars Mustang. You know Jim Farley's got to love that race for RP. And then Milton Grant. Unbelievable here, Tony. I'm so excited to be back at Sebring. But Jonathan, I'm going to send it back to you, buddy.
Yeah, perhaps just as wise because they're roaring into life. Ben Sissel, as always, doing the business. He'll be up here to join me, and I'm hoping that maybe Adam Andretti, of course, who's a former TA racer, he is racing currently in TA2. Their feature race tomorrow, so stay with us. We get ready to go racing to start the season here in 2022. Lot to play for. Chris Dyson looking for back-to-back. He's been the runner-up several times, and when he finally got the championship last year, the emotion poured out of him. And I think he has every intention of trying to do exactly the same again, but new teams, new faces, and faces that we're well aware of, like Kent Thwaites. What a story Kent Thwaites is. Came from XGT, won the first XGT championship in 2020, jumped into a TA car last year, learnt his way, and now could well be a contender for this. He's qualified with his teammate, 3rd and 4th, and he learnt a lot from what Maynard was doing yesterday, and that is why Thwaites is right at the sharp end in 4th position, and just behind him, Tommy Dreese. Spoke to Tommy just before the start of this race, and Tommy, with an older car, he says he's got a new team this year. He's left the Burton team, and he's got Paul Gentilozzi, who of course is the most, well, he's won 31 races. He's the most successful Trans Am driver of all time, even ahead of Mark Donoghue with 31 wins, and Paul running Tommy Dreese this weekend and for the season. They're hoping to get an updated car before the season finishes, but Tommy can never be counted out, the great character that he is. Good crowd here, as always. We just had a grid walk to allow the fans to look at the cars. There they are, all lined up, getting their photos. They've had their selfies, but out go the roar of these beautiful 850 brake horsepower plus cars. If you're wondering where Ernie Francis Jr. is, he's gone on to different pastures. He's now racing in single-seaters, funnily enough, here in Florida this weekend at St. Petersburg in Indy Lights, our 7-time champion. And that opens it up, you could say, for somebody else to take the limelight. Chris Dyson certainly hoping to do just that, as he did at the end of last season. We're on board here with Paul Menard, and what a history he had. Cup history, of course, and a distinguished career in NASCAR racing, just like Boris said. So we've got some names that many have heard of before, like Amy Ruman, like Tommy Dreese, and of course the Boris Saids, Paul Maynards of this world, but maybe one of the youngsters, or even Martin Rajinger, who is of course from Salzburg, Austria. I've watched Martin's career in Asia for many years. Very, very good racer. He's raced here at the 12 hours. He's raced at the Nürburgring 24 hours. He's done a lot of IMSA. He's done a lot of sports car racing. He came in to do some Trans Am last season. And, well, to say he didn't do bad, a 1st and a 2nd, that's not a bad entry. And he did the job that he was expected to do. But what it did do was get his interest in racing Trans Am. He loves it. And he's used to racing the very high-powered, but all the gizmo, Porsches, etc. But he loves this kind of racing. Tommy Dreese on board. We'll hear from here. Ben's just joined me. Great deal of anticipation. What was the atmosphere like down?
I think jubilation would be the way. I think everybody's so excited to get this thing started. Got a great record-breaking crowd here at the Sebring SpeedTour, and I was with Paul Menard. So Ken Thwaites and I live about a mile from each other in Franklin, Tennessee.
Right.
And Ken called me and said, Paul Menard's going to be here looking at the car getting fitted. And I walk in, Paul Menard's in Ken's sim, and I roll my cameras and turn. Of all the tracks he's ever raced and all the great things that he's done, like winning the Brickyard 400 in NASCAR,
yep,
never raced a Sebring. Oh. And look at how quickly he is coming into his own here at Sebring and this new Franklin Road. FranklinRoad.com, some of the greatest apparel you'll ever buy. Make sure you go to FranklinRoad.com for your men's apparel, high fashion, but with a little bit of a motorsports flair as we ride on board with Paul Menard.
The big story of the winter, and it will be the big story literally in 2 minutes' time, the tyres. You talked to the Rumans, talked to Bob about it and how they're getting better aero. The reason why they've gone from 60 to 18-inch tyres. Now, that's more in line with most high-performance race cars, but we didn't have it in Trans Am. We do now. What do you think, and what have you heard the difference will be with these bigger tires at the back?
Well, if you can believe it, with these 850 horsepower behemoths, everybody's saying it's faster with more control. And we're seeing it with the times because it's almost a 2-second difference from last year, and the weather isn't that much of a factor. It's a lot like last year, and I think as the drivers get more and more used to it, the better. And I was talking to Chris Dyson and Amy Ruman. They're kind of our real technical drivers in the series, both champions as well. The sidewall being smaller lets them kind of do a lot more input into the suspension, into the actual suspension parts and the geometry, where they had to use to in years past with the 16-inch wheels, they had a deeper sidewall. The circumference really didn't change in the size. So that's what it is. It's a little bit easier to adjust the suspensions, but the biggest thing is they can put bigger brakes. Bigger brakes means better stopping power. Cool them a lot better. There's more space there behind the wheels. So once everybody figures out their brake packages, I think we might see 4 to 5 second differences in their times.
Yep, Pirelli, the 18-inch P0, and according to Pirelli, it improves drivability and allows, as you just said, for bigger brakes on the race cars. But, of course, that also gives you a false sense because we've seen so many races here at Sebring in Trans Am and in TA. Oh, that's not a good look. What's happening here?
That is Paul Menard, Eau Claire, Wisconsin, right there at Franklin Road. He might have wanted to just get one more shout out to his sponsor. Yeah, I don't know. That looks like it's an electrical issue. I hope we can get out there. This Sebring safety team is probably going to have to put this under a double yellow, do one more pace lap. But this safety team under Billy and Matt Muha is the quickest. They will get him removed, and we will get this show on the road. That's really unfortunate for Ken Thwaites and Paul Menard with Franklin Road Apparel, franklinroad.com. But there he is. There's our champion in car, Chris Dyson, coming around 14, 15, 16.
Like so many racers in Trans Am, a huge history in the Dyson family. They hail from Lime Rock. We'll be going there later in the year. Chris Dyson made himself a fantastic and worthy champion and put on a heck of a show. Let's just go back a year. What a race he put on last year. He had to come from the back.
Yeah, so he made the decision to change tires, which means in Trans Am that you have to start at the back of the grid. But he felt so good about his setup that he started at the back of the grid and put on an absolute show. Really kind of the start of his championship season. Greg Pickett, Trans Am legend, a winner. If you believe different decades of Trans Am is supporting his car. His dad, Rob Dyson, motorsports legend, was here on the grid. I kind of get starstruck when I'm around Rob Dyson as a huge Dyson fan as a kid, and here they are pulling him off. And I think we're only going to have to do one more lap under pace, which is really just speaks to the Sebring International Raceway safety crew. Thank you, gentlemen and ladies.
Yep, gives us time to set it up more. I'm going to watch that Day-Glow yellow Poncho Weaver prepared Boris Said car because Boris did not qualify. They had a shunt, in fact, and I was talking to Poncho, and they had to basically replace the rear end of the car, and so not the preparation they wanted, but Boris Said, a veteran, semi-retired, let's put it that way, because he's been in and out. He runs a dealership in California for cars, but he loves his Trans Am, and basically he says if Poncho Weaver wants to prepare a car. Now, Tommy Dreese is in the pit. That's not good news. I asked him before the race. They were having intermittent electronic problems. So this could be what we're seeing here, unless it's something new. But either way, that's an old car for Tommy. They're bringing a new car, an up-to-date car, later in the season, but that's not the drama. By the way, 80% of the team he's got are the team he had last year, so he brought the team with him.
This is unbelievable. That's the Paul Genelosi of Tommy Dreese, and that's Richard Grant.
Richard Grant,
oh, no. This is, we talk about Sebring being rough, but it's usually rough under race conditions, not under yellow flag pace laps. But look at the Sebring staff. They've got enough staff to go out there and bring in the cars. We love that. There's Amy Ruman there. Wally Dollenbach.
Good opportunity for Wally Dollenbach and Amy Ruman, because with Menard out of this race, or at least hoping to get back into the race, but he won't start from his grid position as we head down the Fangio straight on the warm-up lap. As you say, we had no problems like this in practice or qualifying, and then suddenly come race day, and we've got several cars. Dreese is out, Maynard is out, and Richard Grant is also parked up. So 3 cars already in trouble here at Sebring. Fantastic shots from the drone as they head towards turn 10 and Tower.
And ladies and gentlemen, if you like your orange juice in the morning, chances are it comes from within about a 5-mile radius of where we are here in Central Florida. Beautiful weather for the start of the Trans Am Series presented by Pirelli 2022 season. There goes Ken Thwaites, Wally Dallenbach, David Pinteric in that always red, white, and blue car. Jose Chacron from Panama. Jose, it's so cool to be here. And also, I want to say, he broke in practice, and Claudio Burton, just like the paddock always does in Trans Am, said, well, Jose, I'll give you my car. Have at it. How cool is that?
Yeah, this is what I like about this series. It really is like it was back in 1966. Racing for fun, but racing seriously with some very serious racers. The talent of field out here is quite impressive. Now, Tommy Dreesy's got back going again. Now, I don't know where he'll rejoin. I presume he'll start at the back of the grid, will he?
Yeah, he'll have to start at the back. Exactly. That's per the rules. We've had this before. We had a car spin at 7 under the pace lap, and I heard on the radio, but no, per rules, the lights are out. They have to come to the back, and I don't know if back to the grid anyway.
Yeah, it's going to be a flying start for him,
Chris Dyson coming down this long straight.
Well, here we go then. The start of the season here for 2022. TA, but also XGT, SGT, and GT. And the TAs, the faster cars, will lead them away, led by the champion, Chris Dyson. The safety car will come off through the bumps at Sunset Bend. Dyson will try to hold off the far-charging Ragginger, who's known as Raggy. What can the Austrian do? Away we go then! 22 is underway. On your right-hand side is the champion, Chris Dyson. Under pressure already from the 59 of Ragginger, but doesn't quite make it. Good start from Boris Said, too. He gets away well. The 9 of Jose Chacron from Panama also gets a good start. We're on board with Thwaites as they dive towards the first big braking area, and that's turn 3. Good clean start, Ben.
It really is. Now they're in the twisty bits. Now look at this, Jonathan, the different surfaces here at Sebring. I went out and was putting in the brake markers the other day. I counted 6 different surfaces at Sebring, which means 6 different adhesion patches possible around this lap. 3.74 miles.
This has always been the challenge of
Look
Sebring.
at Boris.
Boris Said under braking towards the hairpin, goes past Ken Thwaites.
All the way in 3rd.
Nicely done. And away goes Boris Said. It won't take long for him to get to the sharp end. Doesn't matter that he didn't have qualifying. That's the way Boris rolls. And Boris Said was a vast experience in all forms of sports car racing, especially here at Sebring. If anybody knows Sebring, it's Boris.
Unbelievable. So here we go. The big 3 in the top 3. Ford, Chevy, like Trans Am is supposed to be. How cool is this, ladies and gentlemen?
Yeah, like we said, Martin Ragginger may not be a familiar name to American audiences, but he has been around the world racing in sports cars for many a year. Has raced here in the States, I may add. Not in Trans Am that much, but when he did, he was 1st and 2nd, and I think that was at Atlanta, as he helped try to help win the championship, or at least bolster the championship, as we go on board with the leader, Chris Dyson, down the Ullman Straight, and looking fine fettled at the moment. And they didn't have a DNF last year. I hope I haven't put the muckers on them. But Dyson's team were superb last year, and they're aiming to do it again.
Looking at his body language, Chris Dyson just looks relaxed, like he's on a trip to the grocery store to pick up some milk for his family. Doesn't look like he started a race here defending his championship. That car must feel really good. And then look at our GT cars come through here. I love this beautiful Race for RP car there, the number 50 of Luca Mars, all the way from Pennsylvania. Welcome, Luca Mars. Love having you. There's Billy Griffin, GT champion,
GT
2020.
Champion, yeah.
And that's Lee Saunders, 2-time SGT champion in that Viper.
Yeah, Lee Saunders, of course, from Florida. This is home race, and multiple champion in that Viper. And it's a really strong car, that here with the long straights. You've got the Ullman Straight. That Viper is a missile, especially in Lee's hands. But he did say, I'm watching in my mirrors for Luca Mars. The kid is quick. Look at the gap they pulled on Boris Said, although Boris is starting to get away from Ken Thwaites and try to see if he can get on level terms as they go in to the hairpin.
Watch Wally Dallenbach. Now, this is a 2-time Trans Am champion, 85 and 86, and then he moved up to the NASCAR series. But he's been racing with us quite a bit in our vintage series, SVRA, and winning every race he enters with John and Debbie Cloud, so he's got a lot of experience in this car.
Yeah, we thought he was going to be on the older 16-inch tires, but he's not, right?
He's on the 18s. Yeah, I had gotten a memo a few weeks ago he was in the 16s, but no, he's on the 18s as well and just loving it.
So just to explain, this is a 27-lap race, or, as you can see the clock ticking down, when the clock gets to 0, whichever comes first, because we can have delays if there's yellow flags or safety cars, and that's how it works in Trans Am. So it's a race against the clock or against the lap count. And it's a 27-lap race, led by Dyson at the moment. Austria's Martin Raginger is in second place. Boris Said in third with some work to do. Ken Thwaites fourth from Nashville, Tennessee. Amy Ruman, another champion from Trans Am, is fifth. David Pintarik is sixth place. Wally Dallenbach Jr. is seventh. Jose Cochran from Panama is 8th. Lee Saunders 9th. Then Bob Michelin in 10th. And Danny Lowry 11th. Luca Mars up to 12th already.
Look at the sparks there as Boris Said comes around Big Machine Spike Coolers, turn 17, as now we're getting into our GT class. Lee Saunders doing the best that he can to keep Luca Mars behind him. Not sure if he's going to be able to. And that's Bob McCallion from Seal Beach, California in that white Mustang, followed by Luca Mars. And there's Billy Griffin. Look at this beautiful car there. Bridge Hull, number 42 of Danny Lowry, racing two different classes with us this weekend.
Yeah, Danny Lowry currently in 12th position in that Ford Mustang.
No, he's in the Porsche.
Sorry, Danny Lowry in the Porsche, yeah.
Look at these two factory. Jim Farley was drooling over these. We had the CEO of the Ford Motor Company in our fan walk because he's here racing with us this weekend. And I'll see him on the podium all weekend long because I know him as a race winner, Jim Farley.
Ken Thwaites having a look for a moment there before the hairpin.
Boris is in second.
Yep, Boris is up to second. He's got ahead of Raginger. No problems there for Boris Said. Now goes in pursuit of our leader, Chris Dyson. A spin for Pintarik.
David Pintarik turns it around there at franklinroad.com, turn 7 here at Sebring International Raceway, getting a look, got it started back up in that Kreider Racing.
Luckily, there was nobody else involved. I think it was on his own. And as you can hear, the car, it sounds fine. Now, this is going to be a good battle between the Austrian and the American.
Two totally different approaches. If you know Boris Said, he likes to move people out of his way. No holds barred. Raginger, a Porsche driver, a little bit unfamiliar with these cars. Not as familiar as Boris. Going to probably play the tactician game and let the race come to him. But watch Dyson's language, body language. That car looks like it's totally comfortable to Dyson. Look at the lead that he's got.
Now, I know they've had some testing, but we really don't know how these larger tires are going to handle the 27 laps. It's, it's a 70-minute race. Here's a replay of Pintarik going round. Yeah. Oh, and he might have got a tap from behind. Might have got a tap from the number 9. That might have been Jose Cochran just touching the rear of Pintarik there. Now, Boris Said under pressure again from Raginger. Here they come, side by side, down the straight here at Sebring.
Watch them hit the brakes here. Watch the front end of the car go all the way down to the splitter, making sparks.
On board with Thwaites. He's just behind this battle. Headed towards turn 2 and 3. 2, very much a kink, but 3 and 4, heavy braking.
I got to brag on my boy Ken Thwaites, franklinroad.com. He is so serious about this racing. I know that he's a busy man in his private life, but he is loving this. Went from a 1-car team to a 4-car team, and he has really stepped it up. Put a ton of work into this, and it is showing. He is so fast right now.
Raggy getting ragged as he tries to put the pressure on Boris Said. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's a wonderful story, Ken Thwaites. He started in XGT in basically production Audis. He had 2 Audis to run. Used to rent one out for the weekend, won the XGT championship, and has never looked back. Did TA last year and is now very much a factor in this TA championship and looking to make a real inroad here this season. Raginger does go through and passes Boris Said.
Back around in that 59 SG Simon Gray car. There's Boris Said. Now, a little Trans Am history. I believe Ken Thwaites was telling me in his youth he beat Tommy Kendall for a Pro Formula Mazda when they were both up and coming. And then work happened to Ken, and he went to work, and now he gets to come out here and play with us. As Boris Said, locks up his brakes a little bit there going into turn 14.
Yeah, Ken had a sabbatical of 10 years without racing before he came back a couple of years ago, and now he's right at the sharp end again. So, what can Raggy do from second place now? He's got a lot of work to do, though, if he's going to try and catch Chris Dyson, who is gone.
Something's going on with Boris's car. Boris has lost a little bit of pace. His brakes there into turn 15. It doesn't look right. The rear end of his car looks a little loose.
Well, they have repaired that rear end overnight, and that could be the thing. Some sparks flying up as well.
Oh, Ken looking inside, but there's Wally Dallenbach Jr., two-time TA champion. Legendary.
He hasn't lost any of his pace, has he?
No, not at all.
He
Super
working on the
competitive. Look at
farm
this.
in
He's looking
Colorado.
inside. Looking inside Ken at Mission Foods turn 3.
Nicely done. Yeah, I think you're right. I think there's some problems there just ahead for Boris, but we'll see how quickly the mighty Wally Dallenbach. Of course, his brother Mike works for the series.
He does. I don't know if they're brothers or cousins.
Cousins, I think, yeah. I'm sure they'll be tuning in
But
Colorado.
look at Amy Ruman. This group of cars, they aren't getting away from each other. And Amy Ruman, two-time champion, McNichols Chevrolet Corvette.
She's stuck with Chevrolet for a few years now. And like you heard from Bob, the aero package didn't really work that well for them on the 16-inch tires, and now it's a lot better, more competitive. And we know Amy, she's a former champion, can do the business, and she hasn't lost any of her pace, so I expect to see her at the sharp end for a lot of this season.
Yeah, and probably in this front group of cars, probably the most privateer team in TA.
Yep.
Doing really well. Her dad, Bob, raced in the series. Her sister is a racer, and Amy's a two-time champion, so it is in the blood. But the most competitive in the family is Bob's wife.
Oh, yeah.
She is holding it all together.
And if you ask any of the Dallenbachs, they'll tell you this is the best racer, too. Now, Luca Mars, one of the youngsters we haven't talked too much about yet, but he's just popped into the top 10, getting ahead of Lee Saunders, the former SGT champion. So, Luca Mars, the kid, making his name, and up to 9th place in the number 50.
Now, I think there's something wrong with Boris's car, but he can make that car really wide. Now, look at this. These two raced each other in all kinds of different series.
Oh, yeah.
NASCAR, Trans Am, and back in Trans Am, having just a blast.
And probably IMSA as well.
Yeah. You're right. Now we're on board. Oh, there's Tommy Dreesy coming back in.
Yeah, Tommy had to start at the back. If you remember on the warm-up lap, the number 8 Lucas Slick Miss car had some problems. I spoke to him while you were doing your grid walk, in fact, and he said that he said, if you see me having problems, because I've had an intermittent electronics problem, and they did just seem to check it over when he came in, and, well, that doesn't sound that good, to be honest.
That sounds... Something's going on with
something's not right.
The ignition on that. So it might be the... yeah, you can hear it kind of cutting in and out. I can't tell if that's a microphone sound or if that's his engine, because his engine seems to be running really well.
Yeah.
I think that's microphone. I think that's the audio pickup from his in-car.
One thing I can tell you, it might be a resplendently painted bright blue metallic, but it's an older car, and that always means that there's a potential of a problem. But he's going good. He's got to the back of the pack at least.
Let me just say this. As a longtime Trans Am fan and a fan of motorsports, it is great to have Paul Gentilozzi back in our paddock with Tommy Dreesy. Unbelievable. You see the fuel venting out of the back of his car there, but Paul Gentilozzi, welcome back.
Yeah.
Running for the championship with Tommy Dreesy.
And the most successful Trans Am man of all time, really.
From almost every perspective.
Yeah, 31 wins.
Team driver, series owner. Unbelievable. There we are, back with the Jim Weed, Chris Dyson. Unbelievable. Altwell Ford Mustang. Greg Pickett, if you're watching this, I hope you're super proud of your boy Chris Dyson.
You know, I wouldn't want to kart against him. I wouldn't want to go Trans Am racing. I wouldn't want to try to get to the Buffy before Chris Dyson. He's automatic, isn't it? He's so smooth. Every lap is almost identical. That's why he does a lot of coaching as well. But he is one of the finest American sports car racers and Trans Am racers we've got. And he's still very much of an age where he could go on for many, many years to come as a champion. But it's very hard to compete against a guy who doesn't really make mistakes. Their record last year spoke for itself. They finished every race.
Unbelievable. And here we go. Great shot there of the mixed class racing. The Porsche in his mirrors knew he was coming in as he comes into Franklin Road. Turn 7 here at Sebring. And I got to, watching this, I got to give it up for my friend. I really miss Ernie Francis Jr. in the series. I love what he's doing in Indy Lights and can't wait to watch him. I know we're going to see him in the Indy 500 in a few years. Cool to see. But don't you miss seeing Ernie out there battling with Chris Dyson?
I do, and I know that at some point on the other side of Florida at St. Petersburg, whether it be after qualifying or before qualifying or whenever he's got a moment, Ernie will tune in, and I know that we wish him well at St. Petersburg.
But look at that. That car, Stevie Dix, his crew chief mechanic, really has set that up because this track is a lot rougher than the images that we're seeing coming from it. His splitter isn't bouncing around a lot. Whoever did the setup on this car, this is by far the best setup I've seen at Sebring. I've never seen a car go like this at Sebring. Chris Dyson, I know he's raced here many times in many different series, but if we can get a shot of him coming down here.
That was Milton Grant just going through shot in the SGT Championship. Here's your leader.
Here's the roughest part of the track, and look at this. He's tracking so well.
Yeah, you see the
The
brakes
cars
there.
go so smooth. Nice job.
Well, he was sensational here last year, and he's looking to do it again this year. Look at the competition. They're nowhere in sight. And that Ullman Straight that's a long walk.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's Wally Dallenbach.
In second place.
Yeah.
Now let's watch him come through the Sunset Bend. Yep, there you see the bouncing curves. There's the blue dot you were talking about, and they're both on that line. Boris said still in contention with Wally. But we'll look at the times as they cross the line. Dyson last time out a 2:01.6. Dallenbach a 2:02.3. So not only is Dyson leading, but he's pulling away at the front. And the gap between Dyson and Ragginger, half a second at the moment. As we go back with Ken Thwaites.
Look at that. Boris is really wide in some turns. I don't think he meant to take that apex that late. But he's still going really fast as Ken Thwaites comes up behind him, behind the Franklin Road turn 7 here at Sebring. And there's Paul Menard back out. That's great.
Yeah, so they obviously towed him back. He had a problem on the warm-up lap where he literally came to a stop. So they literally towed him back, and obviously they cranked it back up again and had a look at it. But he's back out there. Let's see his lap times and see what he can do. Now remember, points-wise, everybody pretty much scores points. At least 1 point. There are points for lap led and points for the fastest lap.
Just got a report from a friend down in the Franklin Road team that they had to go to Menards, the greatest hardware store in the world, to get some parts, put it in the car, and back up and running as Paul Menard.
And I'm delighted that coming into the booth, we said it might happen, and it has. Former TA man and current TA2 championship contender, watching as we are, Paul Menard taking on the field from the back, Adam Andretti. Adam, delighted to have you on board. We had a lot of work together last year as we looked at TA. You're now in TA2 with a massive entry from three-dimensional services. What have you noticed so far? What have you seen? Well, we're celebrating where it all started here at Trans Am back in '66, so we've got a bit of the Andretti's here. We've also got Kerry Hitt. He knows what he's talking about when it comes to Trans Am racing. He continues to be a stalwart of the championship. This is your form of racing. What do you see?
I wish I would be out there right now, but with the new tires this year, the 18-inch tires, the cars are a lot quicker, they're more stable. I think there's going to be some fantastic racing throughout the year.
Adam, you heard about these 18-inch tires. Obviously, you're doing TA2, so it doesn't matter to you. But would you have liked to have a go at this era of tires?
Absolutely. The compound that they brought. Not only just we've been focusing a lot on the profile of the tire and the 18-inch wheel part, but really, Pirelli changed the whole compound around this tire. And the compound is so much nicer. It seems so much racier, too. Like, there's going to be true fall-off, and there's going to be that old fall-off that we used to see out of our Trans Am Series tires. So I honestly, it's one of those things where I'm envious for the TA2 cars. I would like to see that compound get brought over to TA2 and throw a little mixture into the TA2 field, because in TA2, just like in TA, we've been on that same compound for so long that everyone starts to get used to it. So it'd be nice to get something thrown in the mix, just like this is done, and it might help level out this playing field.
great to have big names like Paul Menard coming in very competitively, as you'd expect.
Yeah, Paul's great. I mean, I'm a big admirer of him and his family. You know, I'm born and raised in Indianapolis, and they have such a strong history there at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and the support there. So I know one of actually my most special times, even as a race fan, was observing Paul Menard win the Brickyard 400.
Yeah.
Because I knew how much their family had put into some success at Indy and never really quite got to celebrate the true fruits of that victory. And with Paul, he was able to deliver. And to see him here in the Trans Am Series, I echo your sentiments completely, Jonathan. He just adds to the depth, not only in the talent pool, but just in the personality pool as well. He's a great human being to be around, and great presence too from Menards as well. And then you got Amy Ruman. I think this new tire is going to be a bit of a revival for her, Kerry. Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's going to be good. The other great thing about the tires, and on the old tires that we ran, the 16-inch tires, the sidewalls had so much flex to them that I know specifically at Road America, at the end of the straight, as you get into the braking zone, there's that dip. Well, we couldn't understand why we were dragging, we were hitting, because all of the data told us that we shouldn't have been on the ground, and then we realized what was happening is the suspension was totally compressed, and then you went over the bump, and it was the sidewalls and the tires were flexing. So it was... I know that Amy, for one, did not like those tires at all. They just didn't work on her car.
Yeah.
But I think this 18-inch tire is the ticket.
Great to have the inside of two current drivers. Kerry, why aren't you out there?
Well, you know, the supply chain is empty right now.
Yes.
And we've made some great changes on the car. I just wasn't able to get enough together quick enough, and I thought, we'll just sit this out.
Kerry Hitt has obviously been racing in Trans Am for a long time, but you also have another role. You're a big part of the composite and the bodywork of these cars.
Yeah.
What have we got? Tell us a little bit about that side of things.
Okay, well, Advanced Composite Products is my company, and we've built the bodywork for all of the TA cars that are out there. We aren't building the C7 Corvette, but we're building the Mustangs, the Challengers, the Camaro, and of course the Cadillac. We've updated the Camaro, the 2022 Camaro now. We've updated the front of it, so that's got some new aero stuff on it. The Ford, I'm not sure what we're going to do on it. It's pretty good right now. They've not been doing bad at all. So we've got a couple of ideas we're looking at. Possibly maybe the Toyota. A lot of Toyota motors out there, and the motors in this class are kind of a hand-me-down from the NASCAR.
Sure.
And they're not using them. They got warehouses full of them. So why don't we see if we can get some more cars and get some more manufacturers into the series?
I think you just made a new story there. I like the idea of that.
Yeah. Okay.
Very cool. And of course we've got Poncho Weaver in terms of a chassis anyway. Poncho very much heavily involved in helping with the new Gen 3 car in NASCAR.
Yep.
So we've got a lot of talent here in the paddock. Talking of which, Adam Andretti, how are you set? TA2, you used to race at TA, but this is a very big season for you.
Yeah, it is. It's a big season for all of us. I mean, there's a lot of growth here within the series. Got a lot of great support here, and with Franklin Road, big supporter, and also Big Machine Vodka, and then personally on our side with Three Dimensional Services Group, and there's just a ton of just buzz around the Trans Am Series period and around these SpeedTour race weekends, and with great cause. Not only is the exposure at its all-time high, but beautiful livery of Tommy Greasy as always there in the Rocket Sports car there. But that's a really good-looking car here that they brought here, and I know that it looked like they started off with their issues a little bit behind the 8-ball. Paterick, who his weekend has not been without, when the Kreider Racing Ford Mustang has not been without drama.
You know what, guys, as we're talking, we've sent Ben down to the pit lane where he belongs in many ways, because he's always about it, but he's found out the latest on Paul Menard's car. He's with his chief engineer. Down to you, Ben.
Next, hopefully we can get some cautions and get our laps back and maybe get up there and race for the lead. We've got a fast car. The Chevy Camaro's really fast, so hopefully we can keep a good pace with the leader.
What's your driver saying now, Mason?
He hasn't said a word. He's just worried about lap times, keeping pace with Dyson. And, obviously they're pretty fast, so We just got to get back up there and catch them.
All right. Mason Jennings, you heard it. Back to you, Jonathan.
Yeah, we missed the first part of that, Ben, but we get the idea. Maynard is out there. He's not saying a word, but you can see he's on good lap pace. And I'll leave it to the drivers to explain what you're seeing as we go on board.
Great, Adam. Well, I mean, you're accelerating, up to like 167 miles an hour. You saw they're hard on the brakes, down a few gears here to get through turn 1. Let the car set, but then you're hard back on the power. It's a really fast corner there. Little kink here they call turn 2, hard on the brakes for turn 3, back down into low gear, probably second or first gear in these cars. Up into the carousel. Carousel here is turn 5 as you come out of here. It's hard under the bridge. You can see a little hiccup there. He couldn't get quite to the power. So accelerating through turn 6 here down the straightaway into the famous hairpin here, turn 7. You got the hotel there on the left-hand side. Hard on the brakes down into first gear. And as he rotates the car again, just plant the power, be hard on the power all the way to turn number 10. Just a great little historic track here. He's hard on the power. Again, like I said, all the way up here to turn 10. Turn 10, another hard braking zone. Not much, got to be committed there. There's not much room for consequences there if it goes wrong. Again, you could, idea here is just be hard on the power again, be able to stay full throttle all the way through the kinks there to the left, and then you're going to come into turn 13 here again, low speed corner. As you come out of 13, you do accelerate through probably the fastest part there. Would have loved to stay on board to see go through Big Bend, but we got to get to Boris Said here in that Poncho Weaver special, the Technique chassis, the number 2. Technique is that company that you were talking about, Jonathan Green, that's actually building that Gen 3 Cup car. It's all robotic welders. It's quite fascinating stuff.
Currently.
All right, here I am with legendary builder Poncho Weaver, the builder of the Boris Said car. You said he's having a little problems. What's going on?
Well, we had a wreck yesterday in practice before qualifying, and rear end was a bit skewed out, and we had to heat it up with a torch and a forklift and bend it back. So it's pretty close, but it's not exactly right, and we are having some rear brake issues at the present time. Right. So just trying to hang on to third.
Rear brake issues for Boris Said, but if anybody can do it, who said? Boris Said. Back to you, Jonathan.
Thanks, Ben. Yeah, I didn't know he used the brakes, Kerry.
Do we use brakes?
No, I didn't know that Boris.
Oh, yeah, no, not a lot. Poncho's on there. It's interesting, the stuff that he does in the cars that he builds. He's just a fantastic fabricator, and he does it in the basement of his. Of course, the basement of his house.
It's a big house.
Oh, yeah.
It's a pretty special basement.
Yeah, it is.
Sure.
Very much so.
And to that point, too, they maybe struggle with rear brake issues and won't be able to do anything with Chris Dyson with his current pace. But he is on pace if he holds his pace, Kerry, to be able to hang on to that podium position, especially the gap that he has back to Ken Thwaites as being around 4.5 seconds. So that's plenty of gap that he can go in there and just kind of do what Boris does and save the car and bring it home. But Chris Dyson in this Jim Weed special here, Ford Mustang, is just setting out the pace out here and just absolutely putting on a clinic.
And if you're wondering what Jim Weed is, well, it's part of the Altwell sponsorship that carried Chris Dyson to championship circle last year, and it's just another side of that. In fact, it's an energy drink that is part of the Altwell group, and so they put that on the car, and he's advertising hard at the moment because he's doing the business. He's a long way ahead of Wally Dollenbach, and Kerry, it's good to see Wally out there as well, isn't it?
Yeah. He's doing really well. Being out of the seat for a while hasn't really affected him. Ken Thwaites is doing a really good job. He's improved a lot. I think he likes these new tires. I heard reports that he was kind of getting used to them. They had a little trouble trying to dial the car in. And once looks like they're starting to get it dialed in pretty good. I think he's going to do a good job.
Kerry, you've been at this for a while. It takes time to learn these cars. They are monsters at the best of times. 850 plus brake horsepower. Not a lot of help. But the way Ken has gone from production racing, he took 10 years out of racing. If you've been impressed how quickly he's got up to speed.
Really well. This year they're going to have the bigger brakes also. With bigger tires, you can have more space to put the bigger brakes in. So the cars are not only going to be accelerating faster and going around corners faster, they're going to be able to go deeper into the corners and stop a whole lot quicker.
Yeah, I was talking to Ken yesterday. He was comparing his data with Paul Menard and saying that there was a couple of corners where he was losing 5 miles an hour And it's a big factor, isn't it? The gathering of data. If you've got a really good teammate and you've got 3, Adam, it makes a big difference to how you go about it.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's huge. I mean, we're sitting in there, and you know, I've got 2 championship drivers in TA2 that I'm getting to see exactly where I'm missing. It's humbling, but also at the same time, it tells you exactly where you need to go to work at yourself, and it's something that they're human. So and what they're doing is human. And I feel like I'm on the same level as them as an athlete, so it's just the matter of applying it and getting it there. But you don't know and that's the beautiful part about having that as a teammate is that opens up that exposure and gives you that idea and lets you know where you are losing the time. So for sure, having a teammate like Paul Menard is only going to up Ken Thwaites' game, and it's only going to bring it to another level. So I'm happy to see that that's all developed and again adding another classic great talent to the paddock with Paul but it's also going to definitely bring up that game of Showtime Racing.
Well, I'll tell you what, he is flying. He's 16th at the moment, but his last lap at 2:01.5, he's very much on the pace and so much quicker than the men in front of him. Dyson, for example, last lap at 2:02.055. How far can he get with 45 minutes? It's sometimes easy to forget that this is a sprint endurance race in many ways.
Absolutely. It's a sprint from start to finish.
Yeah, I remember talking to Adam about that last year. I hadn't really given value to the fact that you're racing for a flat-out 1 hour and there's no let-up.
Correct. Yeah.
It's not like the endurance racing, mindset. Where,
get a couple of other drivers to take over.
Yeah, or you got to save it because you got to make it 24 hours. So you have to produce speed without being abusive. Where we kind of run these Trans Am cars into the ground, as Kerry can attest to. They have to be gone through completely after each event. I mean, a lot of times after each session, you'll see a lot of these teams, the ones that have the best luck with attrition, we call it luck, right? But that's when more like best preparation is they'll have these things torn down almost completely between sessions.
Well, let me ask you this. We often talk about management of tyres in a 100-mile race or an hour-plus race. What will it be like with these bigger tyres? Will it have the same attrition, or will we start to see them slip and slide?
I'm not sure. Oh, Amy.
Oh, Amy's slipping and sliding.
Yep.
Amy Ruman in the 23 McNichols Corvette spins it round, gets it going again, or keeps it going again, and gets back out on the track. Can she turn that round just about? Yes, she does.
Well, she's got a good eye for that. I'm sure she knows the corners of her car very well. But yeah, that's a shame to see, and that might be the answer you were looking for, Jonathan. To your answer to your question was, how long is it going to last? How long is that group level going to last? Are we starting to see slip? Because right now, none of us know. Correct. Nobody knows, because this is the first 100 miles that we've ever put on this new compound and this new construction of this Pirelli tire. So this is really kind of the only one that may have an idea would be Dyson, because of all the tire testing that they've done. But even he doesn't know, because he was doing it just laying down his own rubber, not the rubber of a whole field of TA and GT cars out there.
That comes into factor, absolutely.
For sure.
Let me ask you this, Adam. You've been out there. What about, we always talk about the bumps, but they don't change. What about the track surface in terms of grip out there? Because it hasn't been used in a while. We did some testing here. The 12 hours hasn't been here yet. That's a factor, so it hasn't been used for a while.
There's no grip out there right now. I'm going to go ahead and be just completely blunt. It's we're skating out there. The track temperature's at 110 degrees, which is ridiculous. The sun's beating on it very hard. And we have a very inconsistent wind right here in Central Florida today. So to say that the track conditions today, Jonathan, are tricky would be an understatement. In practice, it felt different from lap to lap. And that's kind of the most frustrating thing about a race weekend, I believe Kerry could attest to, is when you find yourself in a racetrack that you're chasing the conditions of the track all day long, and we've been chasing or all weekend long, and that's what we've been doing, is chasing these conditions. So it's very interesting, but the grip levels are rather low.
Well, we're looking at this youngster, Luca Mars, and so far putting a very clean set of heels on that number 50. He's currently in 9th position from Pennsylvania in the Race for RP Ford Mustang, a sponsorship we saw last year make an appearance at Nashville. But still learning his way, but he, like many, going for that Peter Gregg Foundation, $20,000 available to those between 14 and 24, $20,000, pretty handy to a teenager.
What were you guys doing at 14? Were you going for 20 grand?
Yeah, I was going for 20 grand and had the responsibility of about 20 people looking behind me. No, I was probably losing my keys, losing anything that I was supposedly belonging to, and being late for school and missing my tie. That was about
it.
Yeah.
There's your 14. That's Jonathan Green's 14, ladies and gentlemen.
There's more to that, but
right.
We haven't got time.
When I was 14, they didn't think that people that young would be able to drive cars. So I think it was 20 or 21, I believe is what it was. Yeah, so
I believe that.
Yeah.
It's totally changed. I mean, in TA2, one of the kids in Scott Lagasse's camp is 15 years old.
Yeah.
And I was giving him a little bit of business there on the pre-grid before going out. So I'm not picking. I said I just wish I was 15 again.
Yeah.
And I said, man, I know at 15 I wasn't in a TA2 car, so God bless him, and he's making the most of the situation, doing a great job out there.
Just to remind you, different classes. We have the TA class. That is the 850 brake horsepower plus cars, Trans Am as it's called. Then we have SGT, this car here that you see Lee Saunders in, a Dodge Viper, a production-based car, and that's very much part of the history. That's how Trans Am began, because it was a race between Europe and America in mostly production cars. Sometimes the smaller displacement production cars from Europe would show up in California at Riverside or wherever and take on the muscle cars of America and beat them. They didn't like that much, and so Mustang and Chevrolet and everybody else started making sure that their cars were not only fast but nimble, and hence Trans Am developed. And now we've got this sort of racing, so we continue the tradition of continuing with both production cars and the TA, the silhouette TA cars. But effectively, and you're the body man, we've got a very powerful engine with a composite body on top.
Yes, exactly. And you can change. You can take the same chassis, it's the same wheelbase. That was one of the challenges. Is you take a car and you want it to look right proportionally, but you have 102-inch wheelbase. So we move the wheel well openings to the wheelbase to match it, and then build the rest of the car. It's gratifying at the end to see them because they all look really cool.
Yeah, and, Adam, we've talked in the past, a lot of the reason that the likes of Luca Mars and several of the youngsters coming into Trans Am, you'll be up against some of them yourself in TA2, but the reason is NASCAR has now gone to a lot more road racing, and I mentioned the names, Chase Elliott, we had Bill Elliott coming in before here not too long ago, but a lot of these youngsters now honing their skills with a view to go to NASCAR.
Yeah, I mean, I believe they're up to 7 at the Cup level, is 7 road course races. So that's a pretty impressive number, considering not long ago they had 2.
I think it's going to be great for road racing, because years past, the problem with road racing from a spectator's point of view is you would pick out the corner and that would be the one you would watch and you couldn't see what else is going on. But with these Rovals, and they have a grandstand and you can watch the whole thing. So it's going to be. I think it's going to be more exciting than watching the cars just kind of go around in a circle. I think road racing is finally come of age.
Oh, I agree. And I think another added element to that, and because I caught myself doing it, and before I got up here to the booth, was well, shoot, I'm going to grab the best seat in the house here for a minute. I want to enjoy the start of this race.
Yeah.
And that's the thing now with modern technology and the live streaming that we have here, especially in the Trans Am series. You could come here and be a part of the live action. You have your spot on the track, and you could get all the action live. Right on your phone, right on your tablet, whatever you want to use to get that visual. I mean, it's pretty spectacular. I was actually in the RV eating lunch. I'm like, oh, I was supposed to be up there in the booth. I need to find the booth. And so I was hitting up my good friend Ben here, hoping he wasn't going to be too busy. And as always, he was able to get back to me and get us where we need to go. But that short-term race car driver mentality, I forgot where we did this last year, so couldn't quite find it. But happy to be here and love watching these races, and they're just so exciting. We see Wally Dallenbach coming up on a slower GT car. I believe that's Todd Naparowski.
Yeah, Naparowski, good story too. Coming in and making a name for himself, as we see Patarik.
Oh, Patarik.
Well, I had been told before the race that he was not 100% fit. He's up in years, shall we say, and his 57 number, it's close. But he wasn't 100%, and obviously they're looking in the car, so he had a little spin as well, but he's been a long-time adversary of yours.
Yeah, he just got over COVID, too.
Well, that could be another reason, yeah.
Yeah, and they've not had an easy weekend, and that'll wear on you, too, and they've been struggling intently with, trying to work the gremlins out of a brand new car. When they figured that was a moot point, they went ahead and went to their old tried he had used for many years, and just kept struggling to just get something underneath him this weekend. So hopefully, again, he'll go back. He'll heal up 100% from COVID and get his body back to where it should be, and they can get the car sorted, and we can hopefully see him at the next couple rounds in Charlotte and Atlanta.
It takes time. People don't realize the amount of testing that has to be done in a new car before you can even get it to the point where it's ready to run the race, and then you got to worry about making it competitive. So it's just the back scene that people don't see. They see the cars on the racetrack, but they don't see the hundreds of hours that are put in the shop, and then the times that are put in the racetrack testing beforehand, so you can get the car ready to get out there.
Well, I can't tell you how many people I've taught out of racing for that stat. Just let them know you see the glitz and the glamour and the celebration, but that's one team that gets to celebrate, and it's a lot of hours that you don't see of blood, sweat, and tears that goes into this. It's a sacrifice from everybody, not just the people that work on it, but also the. It looks like Boris is slowing down here. I believe
that Challenger is going to challenge no more, I don't think. He slowed right down and is cruising, and I think we'll probably...
Is that a right front tire going down?
Actually, yeah. Look by the looks of the shape of the car.
You
would know better than anyone.
Good eye there, Kerry.
Great
eye.
It looks like a flat, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
What a shame.
Yeah,
so he had rear-end problems with the fact that they had a crash yesterday. Meanwhile, Chris Dyson. And I'll let you two listen to the sound of that car, but it sounds pretty darn good to me.
Oh, the Dyson cars just sound special when they come across the line. They always do as they're at full song, and you get to hear that Ford V8 just really absolutely scream every bit of its 850 plus horsepower.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing, knowing the Dysons, that 850 plus is definitely
probably.
But the beautiful car there, the Jim Weed Special, and I know that Chris is just really excited. He's focused. He had to miss the last round last year, and he missed basically all of the winter of testing. He got a little bit going in here right at the end of the month of January, and got a couple days in and got back. But you're right, that's a right front that's right down here on Boris said, as he's trying to limp his way back home. But that's a shame. That's going to cost the podium, but for the celebration for Ken Schwaitz, as that legitimately puts him on a podium position finish, and what a great job for if they can hang on to this for that Franklin Road Apparel Chevrolet Camaro. That'd be a great showing for Showtime Motorsports.
You mentioned Todd Naparalski, and of course the man from Michigan. He's got a good history, but not here necessarily in Trans Am. He's raced a lot of different kinds of racing, and is up there in terms of experience and time racing, but new to Trans Am, and we're delighted to have him, and currently in 13th position in that 39, as we once again take a look at Chris Dyson.
Yeah, that thing's just hooked up on a rail here. They're going to, Poncho's guy's going to get to work
straight
here
to
on
work
the right
on that
front.
right wheel. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
And it is. Puncture on the right front.
So you are allowed air jacks and center lock hubs, as Kerry Hitt demonstrates. He has that on his Trans Am car, and so you are allowed the things. But since these cars, we don't do pit stops generally unless you've had a problem like this. Poncho likes to bring a car in at a little bit lighter budget, so he uses an ASCAR 5 lug pattern here that you see them with, and also just uses a standard jack. But right now is when you really like, because it's
make a huge
it's
difference.
up, buzz, tire on, and you're out of there in probably about 8 seconds.
Interesting, Boris Jr. Boris said, watched his son in the Miata Cup, and I'm just looking at Luca Mars and Tyler Casera, who have all come from the ranks of the Miata Cup, and I'm sure there's a lot of Miata drivers thinking to themselves that they could never be a Trans Am driver, and we've got proof in the likes of Luca, in the likes of Boris said Jr., that these guys can do that type of racing and then come through. Tyler Casera, the best example. Luca Mars more recently, and he's out there now. Tyler, unfortunately, not having a competitive day in his new car yet, but we'll see how he goes. It's going to be very interesting to see just how he goes, but what a jump he's had as Tyler.
It's a good, I think it's a good format to learn. Ernie Francis Jr. was racing Miatas, and it teaches, it's a momentum type thing, and it really teaches you to get as much out of the car as you can. And when you transfer those skills to a car with a lot of horsepower, I think that those skills really help hone the driving skills of the driver.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more, Kerry. And I mean, the list of names goes on and on and on. Gar Robinson was in Miatas. Yeah. I mean, there's just the list you can continue with. But Yeah, it's a special learning, and I always joke around that a TA2 car is going to be out of the 500 horsepower because it's a momentum car, it's a heavy car. 500 horsepower sounds like a lot, but for a car that's 2.5 tons or more, it's not.
So what is the weight on that?
We're 2680. That's what our weight is.
Okay, it's close to the TA car, but we've got way more horsepower.
Yeah,
too,
exactly,
so
exactly. So you can. I always said that about the TA car. That's why a guy like me like the TA car so much is it hides your mistakes.
Yeah,
the TA2 car, your mistakes are compounded. Corner by corner because of the lack of power and. No, the relative lack of power, because it's 500 plus horsepower, still plenty of horsepower. But yeah, I believe that's also a big part of that translation is the TA2 car is very similar in that aspect about the momentum and rolling that momentum. And
that kind of goes back to when you were talking about having the teammates that they go out and you can. With data as we have it today, what's really great is you don't have to think, well, where am I losing the time? You can see exactly where it is, and now you can go out and concentrate on that corner and try to get better.
For sure. Yeah. I just wish there was one corner.
Yeah, well, true. Yeah.
When you got 17 of them, you got to work on it. You're working at every one, but no, I tease. But yeah, it's I kid because I just have so much respect for the two guys that I have inside that Peterson Racing tent. And Doug Peterson, again, this is a great racetrack for him. He's had some very strong finishes in TA2. But we're looking here at Luca there, right?
Yeah, Luca Mars, that's the number 50. Yeah.
And
he's another youngster coming through, and he's been an excellent karter over the years. National championships, FIA International Vice Champion, I think, and also MX5. He's been an MX5 Cup driver as well. So another smaller displacement. But like you say, you can learn momentum in those sorts of cars, can't you?
I would say on any given weekend, nothing's going faster through the corner than a Miata.
Yeah.
On any given weekend. Formula One cars don't go through the corners. A slow speed corner as fast as a Miata does.
It's a good point.
But it's good little action there between the GT cars. As I believe Luca was putting Todd a lap down there.
Well, you're listening to Adam Andretti and Kerry Hitt. I'm Jonathan Green, and we're watching the laps fall away here in the first race of the year. The Maynards. Chris Dyson leading the way. Luca Mars in GT. We've got several classes out there. TA, of course, the fastest. The big 850 horsepower. And then SGT, XGT, and GT. As we take a look at the SGT of Luca Mars, the number 50, the youngster.
And we haven't even thrown a shout out here to Jose Cochran. He's there right there in the top 5. This is a name that I'm not seen on our roster here in Trans Am yet. So to come out here, and I don't know if this is his debut or not, but he's definitely not a perennial contender. So to come out here and be inside the top 5, he's in. I believe that's Claudio Burton's car, that number 9, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. And so he's out here and he's put in a really, really good running. And I know that they're going to be, as we take a look at him right here, coming into turn 17, hard on the brakes. But that's a good-looking package there, and hopefully they can hang on and get a good finish for themselves there.
So we've got a long season ahead, and several drivers like Tommy Dreese falling by the wayside, and we hope that they can get back up to speed. Paul Menard had a problem on the on the out lap before the race even got started. They dragged him back to the pits. They checked it over. He's back out there and is trying. He's on race pace, no question about it, but still down in 15th place. So he'll try to get some points. Most people score just by being out there, but the big points obviously go to the sharp end, and that's where Chris Dyson is holding off Wally Dollenbach at the moment. But it's been a good battle between the two of them.
Sebring's like the only place you'll go to because the track is so violent on the cars that you'll go back to the paddock, shut it down, everything's fine. You go to fire it up for the next run, the next circuit, nothing works. Everything's been shook loose. You're like, that happened to me yesterday. We were running fine. We come in to make a change. Halfway through the practice session, shut off, go to fire back up to see what the change did, and car won't fire. So it's just this place will really shake a car to its core for sure.
You can't get an idea for how bumpy it is unless you're in there. Especially coming around that through turn 17. I've been watching the cars here, and they kind of take them over and they bounce it a little bit, but that thing there's sort of a sweet spot if there's any there's quite a big bump there, but there is kind of a sweet spot that it's the less of a bump than the rest of them.
Yeah,
but,
you get the lesser of the two evils.
The lesser of the two evils, exactly.
You could get a headache instead of an upset stomach. That's
there you go.
basically what you can get out of
That's
17.
the way of putting it. Right.
Yeah. Because you're going to get one or the other.
Yeah.
But it's, I mean, I always said if you need to, this is the best place to test a seat if it fits right.
True.
Because you're going to find out where any hot points are. This is going to be the track that's going to tell it to you.
Yeah.
Well, we've just shuffled through the SGT class. We're looking at third place Bob Michelin, and he is currently third in SGT, chasing down Lee Saunders, who you saw in the red and black Viper 84, and they're all chasing Danny Lowry, who is leading SGT, who is second in SGT, and Luca Mars leading the way in the number 50, hence the reason we've been focusing on the youngster, not just because he's new, because he's leading as well. But here comes Bob in the 52.
Bob looks like he's running a pretty wheel there. It's a really good-looking car. It's a very close in livery, I believe, between the 50 and the 52, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, very similar.
As I watch him drive through the paddock. But that race for RP is a great cause, something to look into if you haven't and you support our great sport. But that's definitely one of those wonderful causes to look into.
It's a muscular disease.
It is a muscular disease, and it doesn't get it hasn't gotten a lot of attention. So it's we've got one of those that we share in the paddock here that has that suffers of that. So definitely great to support that. Love to see it out there, making the laps and doing it in a successful manner too.
Guys, we talk about how Trans Am's got this huge history, but I love the fact that here in 2022 we really do have a calendar that is, well, I mean, nobody can challenge against it. We go to all the iconic tracks. Have either of you got favourites where you look at the calendar and go, I'm glad we're going there again?
Yes, all of them.
Yeah. I was going to say, it's really hard to pick one out. Because each one had.
No, that
that's not good.
Looks
That'd
like
be Paul Menard.
No, is that Menard?
Yeah, that was Paul.
Oh,
yeah, that was the 5 car, right?
Yep.
Yeah, Paul.
And in he comes, Paul Menard, former NASCAR hero and well-known name and well-known family name, of course, because of the stores.
I hate to see that for Paul.
He was pushing on.
Obviously has great ability, has a great packager at Showtime Motorsports. So just hate to see that to be their debut together, and this is the result of it. But he knows that he's got the speed. Going to go to a couple tracks I feel he's going to really thrive at. Charlotte Roval he's going to be very good at. Oh, a lot of oil there.
Yeah.
That is pretty catastrophic. But Charlotte Roval I think he's going to be very strong at. And also Road Atlanta I think is going to definitely suit his style. So you have not seen the last of this wonderful racer in Paul Menard. We're going to see more and more of him this year. But we'll get I'm sure Ben is down there or someone's down there trying to find the scoop on what's going on with that number 5.
Well, I don't think you need too much information.
It looks done.
It's dropping its guts, quite literally, and sadly, the Franklin Road car coming to the end of the road, certainly for this weekend.
We got 2 laps left just like that, and the podium seems to be hanging strong with Chris Dyson out well ahead, and then you got Wally Dallenbach and Ken Thwaites rounding out the top 3. Jose Cochran in 4th and Amy Ruman finish the top 5, and this is a battle for 5th right here between Tommy Dreese and Amy Ruman. Tommy has run down Amy, and this is right here a battle. This is going to be pretty epic if the pass has shown us anything, right, Kerry?
Yeah, it's interesting how Tommy and Amy always end up at the same part of the track.
It doesn't matter what race it is. I don't know why that is.
Yeah.
They don't even have to be racing in the same series together, and they find a way to be on the track in the same place.
I think so.
They've had some run-ins. I think of Brainerd a couple of years ago or last year. But, yeah.
Well, I hope this goes clean, and this is some good racing here. But with 2 laps to go, this is going to get pretty strong because I know Amy is one of the hardest cars to pass in this TA class. So this is going to be pretty. And that was one of the opportunities down there into 7. If she gets a good drive off of 7, it's going to be hard for him to do anything in turn 10, and she did.
Yeah, there's a pretty good gap right now. He's got to get a little closer before he can do anything.
Right, yeah.
Here comes Ken Thwaites in 3rd position. So as we get down to the final few laps, it is Dyson a long, long way ahead of Wally Dallenbach and Ken Thwaites in 3rd place. Jose Cochran in the first run, really, really impressive. But we've had quite an attrition rate both at the start of this race. No problems for this man, Ken Thwaites, at the moment.
Yeah, it's just, everyone's in there, right? With 2 laps to go, when you're in your position here at Sebring, all of a sudden that rattle wasn't there that's there now. all of a sudden I smell some gear oil. I didn't smell that before.
Yeah.
Oh, man, did I hear a flutter in the engine? I wasn't there before. This is, and Sebring, like I said, I'm not harping on the track. It's part of what it is. We all know what it is. I'm not picking on Sebring. I don't want anyone to get me wrong, and I certainly don't want anyone at Sebring to get me wrong. They're a wonderful group here, and they put on a great event all the time, and we get to come back for 5 more years. That was announced to us this morning, so that's exciting, and because we definitely love coming to race here at Sebring. But on board here at Ken Thwaites, holding a pretty wheel here with 2 to go. But he's, especially when your teammate has a problem like Paul did, that's another thing that'll eat at you too. Is that right?
Exactly.
Well, it's physically sapping, and I would have thought that the laps versus the time will be a preference to someone like Ken. This is the final lap, and amazingly green for the whole time. That's why we have that either or for the race distance, because sometimes we get a lot of caution and we want to get more racing in. Sometimes it's a case that it's green, like we have. White flag is out, and everybody on their final lap, and here is Chris Dyson, who has, let's face it, guys, let's just talk about Chris, put on an immaculate show yet again. He did it from the back last year. He's done it from the front this time.
Yeah.
He has not put a wheel wrong in that classic, Chris Dyson methodical, just perfect style. He has hit every single mark. As you see him right there, just absolutely nails the apex there in 13, gets that great drive off. He's driving every lap like he's got someone breathing down his neck, and he does it. And what I'm looking at here, Kerry, is you're looking at right around 2.5 seconds is what you're going to lose in lap time, from the beginning of the race to the end of the race. Chris is showing that's on this new tire. So what everyone's looking at now as competitors because you're going to be chasing Chris Dyson for this championship, as he's about to show if he navigates 17 successfully, is we know what we have to do. We have to make sure that we don't lose any more than that over a 100-mile run.
Right.
He's given us that data, so you have to use what he's giving you in this race completed today and apply it to your future runs.
Dynamic Dyson is going to do it at Sebring. He comes out of the final bend, and there's the checkered flag to greet him. A superb run by the champion, Chris Dyson, who takes the checkered flag, and he's a country mile ahead of the awesome opposition. Wally Dollenbach, Ken Thwaites. I think what might have been some of the competitors that could have challenged him harder, it doesn't matter. Dyson will take it any which way. It's been a brilliant run by him. The team have been superb. They haven't rested on their laurels over the winter. In fact, they probably worked harder. And coming across the line is Luca Mars to take the win in SGT. What a moment for him and Forge Line. Congratulations to the youngster in the number 50 Ford Mustang. Race for RP. And he does defeat so many greats. Boris said, unfortunately, will finish 8th overall. He did get back out after that puncture and that rear end problems. Maynard having problems. Likewise, no problems for Lee Saunders. He takes a podium in SGT.
Wally Dollenbach coming here to cross the line, get his second place finish here, and overall and in TA, and then hopefully Ken Thwaites, we should see him navigate here for 3rd overall and round out the podium in TA.
And in GT, good run once again for the former champion Billy Griffin in that same Ford Mustang that he won with Griffin Auto Care Sheehan's towing. Well done though to Dyson. That was an immaculate performance, and I think as racing drivers, that's a good day at the office, right?
It was a good day. Yeah. It's a tribute to the drivers who are able to run the green flag lap, a full green flag race, because and there have been a number of them. I know there were some of them that I was out there with, especially on the hot days, kind of wishing that maybe we'd get a little break, but there was no yellow and it would go a full course.
Well, my thanks to Adam Andretti and Kerry Hitt, who have joined us here in the booth. Kerry not racing this weekend, but he'll be back in action. Adam will be in action. He is racing in TA2, and that's going to be in a very impressive race. But Chris Dyson, that's the man who wins the feature race. The first round of the Trans Am Championship for TA, and he has basically picked up where he left off, the champion, putting on a championship performance there. Sadly, problems for Tommy Dreesy, for Boris Said, and a few others that could have challenged him. Likewise, Martin Raginger. I think if we see more of him, he will challenge Chris Dyson. So Dyson not giving it on a plate. There's never a case of that when you're racing, but certainly helped a little bit by the fact that some of his rivals not able to make it all the way to the end to challenge him.
Yeah, definitely. Paul Menard showed lots of speed. He
Yep.
showed lots of speed all day long, and even when he was back up against the wall. But here we go. Round us out our top 10 here.
So Chris Dyson with the win for the Jim Weed Altwell car. Wally Dollenbach for Ultimate Headers in second. Ken Thwaites in the Franklin Road Apparel car in third. Jose Cochran of Panama and Burton Racing takes fourth. Amy Ruman in the McNichols Chevrolet Corvette takes fifth. Tommy Dreesy sixth. Luca Mars seventh, wins SGT, as you can see. Then Boris said Lee Saunders second in SGT. Billy Griffin, the first man across the line for GT in the Griffin Auto Care Sheehan Touring car. A little further down, Danny Lowry, Todd Naparalski, then Bob Michelin and Milton Grant, Paul Menard, David Pintarik, who also retired, Martin Raginger likewise, and a DNS for Richard Grant, who didn't make the start either. Well, we'll hear, I'm sure, from Chris Dyson in a moment. Ben Sissel will get down there, and we'll hear from what should be a rather elated Chris Dyson. It's always a long, long time away from racing, the winter, and it doesn't matter whether it's 2 weeks or 3 months.
I love that classic Dyson paint livery that he has on the helmet.
His father, of course, a great racer, and we'll be going to his home of Lime Rock very soon. And a quick check once again on those results. Chris Dyson with the victory.
Oh, there's Dad right there.
Yeah, there's Dad.
Here.
Yeah.
Hey,
I
Rob,
didn't know Rob was here. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's beautiful embrace.
He was actually checked in on the way in. I saw him this morning. He's given a lot to the racing, the sport of racing.
Oh,
the whole family has. It's been
So Bob Dyson, the first man to greet his son, Chris Dyson, and we may hear from both. He's got the Racer.com helmet on as well, the sponsorship from them, and we'll hear from the Altwell sponsored car. Let's head down to Ben Sissel.
Chris, match got it.
I can't believe it. Chris Dyson, what a start. Defending champion, what a start to the 2020 season. I was watching your car early on. It just seemed like it was perfectly dialed in. Describe the race to me.
Oh, Ben, it was just fantastic. You know, we got out front early, and the car, you know, I tried to take it easy and just hit my spots, but we could start to gap the field, which was fantastic. I've got to thank everybody at CD Racing. So grateful to have Altwell and Jim Weed with us this weekend, putting them in victory lane. What a way to start the year. And to have my daddy here with me, it's just absolutely fantastic. So just hi to the family at home. So grateful to the team, so grateful to the guys. And here we go. Great start to the 22 season.
It is. Now, Rob Dyson, racing legend. Racing is one of the hardest things to do, but today you guys made it look easy. How's it feel to watch Chris win like that?
Well, like you say, it's never easy, and Chris did a terrific job. Fortunately, good weather, the cars were great, competition was super. No real problems out on the racetrack, and it was great competition. So, you know, I'm really proud of him. Really proud of him.
Now, when you're out here watching this, are you texting with Greg Pickett, another Trans Am legend, telling him how it's going?
Well, yeah, I mean, we all kind of have a social network, I guess, if you will. And ironically, the older we get, the faster we work.
Yeah.
No, but it's great. It's great. It's terrific. The Trans Am is a terrific racing. It's great product. The cars are terrific. They're safe. They're fast. And they're also available to more people. And the technology is well controlled, so more people can get into it with smaller crews, and it's really a great series.
And we were talking about it too, Chris. The thing that I know that you love is the parameters around a TA car is very minimal. This is not spec racing. You can actually innovate in the TA class.
Well, no, I mean, you're right, Ben. This is actually one of the few series, I think, in the world where the team can really continue to evolve the car. And, you know, the morale of the story is, you know, just get faster if you're not good enough. And that, you know, in an era of BOP racing, this is a breath of fresh air.
Nice. I love it. Chris, congratulations. Way to start the 2022 season. Where is Luca? Oh, my goodness. Let's hear it for Luca Mars, ladies and gentlemen. We've got the crowd around us. Luca, what a show. How was it out there?
Yeah, it was really hot out there. From the beginning, I was just in the back. I was just got by as many people as I could at the beginning. I just tried to run fast, consistent laps. It was a great race. The car handled great. The Ford car was on rails. The core guys did a great job setting it up today. I'm really glad I was able to win. It was a last-second decision to come to this race, and I'm glad I came. It was a great race.
Well, I tell you what, Jim Farley is here racing with us, the CEO of the Ford Motor Company. I know he's watching, Jim, and I know that you're super excited to see a car that rolled off of your factory winning the race. Luca, unbelievable. I could tell you're hot. Tell me about the conditions out there.
Oh, I mean, yeah, it's blazing hot out here. I just kind of put that out of my mind, just focus on running clean, fast laps, just keep maintaining my lead, growing it over the race. And I mean, yeah, my teammates, we did good. I think Billy won too, and Bob came second. So the Ford cars, they were great today. I'm just glad I was able to come out with the win. It was a fun race.
Very fun race. It's a fun race. That doesn't say enough. Unbelievable. Here we are at Winner's Circle for the Sebring Speed Tour. We've got a great crowd, great sponsors, record-breaking. Let's hear it, crowd. I love it. Back to you, Jonathan.
Thanks, Ben. Yeah, great scenes here at Sebring, and it's great to be able to go to a Bob Dyson and then to a young Luca Mars in that Ford and doing the business. So excellent stuff by all of them. Well, it was a long race, it was a hot race, and there was a lot going on, really, for the first round of the championship, and it all got underway without some taking the start line. At the start, though, Ken Thwaites got away well, but Dyson got away better. Good challenge from Martin Raginger on the left-hand side in the 59. And Tarek got spun round in the 57. But he would keep going. Problems for this man, Boris said, in the Dayglow yellow with the rear end of the car and also a puncture. Paul Menard looked good early on, but he too would suffer out. Likewise, a spin for the McNichols 23 of Amy Ruman. Eventually, one wheel on his wagon not working, for Boris said. And likewise, Maynard throwing dirt and oil over the track, but it didn't stop. The Jim Weed man of the moment, the number 20, our champion and winner again at Sebring, Chris Dyson.
First of all, the Trans Am Series presented by Pirelli would like to thank Sebring International Raceway for letting us come and start our season again here.
Podium procedures, and as they do, it's a chance for us to give out one of our big prizes of the weekend, and it is our TA Chill Out, Keep Cool move of the race, and, well, there's no real argument. It has to be Chris Dyson. That was a smooth operator at the wheel of the number 20 today, and as cool as you like, he just did his job and didn't get challenged, didn't get bugged by anybody else, and just kept the laps going, pulled away at the front, got through the traffic he needed to, and that's why he is our TA Chill Out, Keep Cool move of the race. Chris Dyson. So, high above Sebring, we look down and reflect on what was an eventful TA race, no question about it. And my thanks to Kerry Hitt and to Adam Andretti. And as we look high above from the drone, it's time for a break. We'll take a short break here from Sebring. We'll be back with more action very soon.
Speed, endurance, desire. For 160 years, Motul has helped engines and drivers go faster, further, and stronger. Tested in the heat of battle, driven with passion, with one aim, to give you superior powertrain protection and performance. Motul.
Welcome back to Sebring, and as you saw, a multi-field of different classes in that last race. We've just seen what happened in TA. Let's take a look at what happened in SGT. Well, once again, the SGT SGT start just behind the T8s, but it wasn't long before they were battling with each other and for position, including Luca Mars in the Ford Mustang, and his first run at it and put on a good show. Bob Michelin, though, on form as well, but no one could stop the race for our P-Man. Luca Mars coming out of the Mazda Cup and into Trans Am and putting on a show, quite frankly. And not even our former champion, number 84, Lee Saunders, in the Dodge Viper from Florida, could stop the youngster. Still a good performance by him. He gets on the podium, but Luca Mars flashes his way to the checkered flag and wins at Sebring. Okay, so more action to come from our SVRA coverage as the day continues, including some very special, what we call all stock cars coming up later in the day. Plus, there's qualifying from Trans Am in T82. So plenty of action to come. Stay with us on our live stream. We'll be right back. My thanks again to Adam Andretti and Kerry Hitt. We'll take a short break. We'll be back in a few minutes' time.
As you can tell, I like to go fast. Our race team is really well prepared. We like to look good, but we also like to dress good, and that's why we shop at Franklin Road Apparel. I own the company, and I wear the clothes that we sell in that store. So check us out. We carry all the top brands: Baldwin, John Barbados, Billy Reed, Goodman brand, and on down the list. So come see us. Franklin Road Apparel, Franklin, Tennessee.
Lightweighting means reducing mass and consolidating parts. No one tackles these design and tooling challenges better than three-dimensional services. We'll provide flexible tooling solutions, including integrating parts, reducing design complexity, or even design changes. We're the go-to source for rapid manufacturing and low-volume production. Trust three-dimensional services to develop the most efficient approach to meet your lightweighting challenges today. Three-dimensional services. Prototype, production, proven.
Menards is the Midwest's ultimate home improvement store. Family owned since 1958, Menards is the one-stop shop where you always save big money. Get the Midwest's best selection nationwide when you shop online at menards.com. We make it easy to complete your projects around the house, big or small. From hardware to plumbing or paint to appliances, we carry it all. Visit menards.com today to save big money at Menards.